2009, I closed the business down. I couldn't sell anything to anybody, and I had no clue what was going on. I was flipping homes on the side, and I had a remodeling company running, and we were going strong for 11 or 12 years. And I said, wow, we finally made it. And 2006 hit and couldn't do anything. So by 2009, I was in debt. I couldn't figure out how to pay another $20,000 or $30,000 a month because I was just writing checks left and right. And it came upon me that I was going to close it down.
Guys, another episode of the Community and Conversions Show. As always, we have some very smart, talented leaders with amazing stories. And today we got the honor of bringing on my buddy, Mr. Kris Whitehead. Fun fact, we found out we might be related. Got some family named Whitehead, and I realized I never told him. So could be cousins or something. We'll find out. But Kris is an all-around badass. He's a family guy. He's a serial entrepreneur, running a couple different businesses. He's also head coach over at the Apex program, which I'm a member of as well. And he's just one of those guys where when he speaks, you really want to listen. So as you guys tune into this, whether it's live or replay, really take what he's saying to heart, and guarantee it'll change your life. So today's topic is not quitting, how to win in life and business, regardless of your circumstances. And he has a hell of a story to share around that. We'll also give you guys some ways that you can take this and start leveling up immediately. So Kris, honor to have you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Arne, I appreciate you, man. You know, it's really funny. As we kind of got to know each other, you were that quiet internet marketer in the crowd for a while. And then, you know, you started writing your book on a much bigger level. And I remember my wife, my fiance, was down there, and you just turned around and asked a question, and you were really open to real feedback. And it's one of these things, when you make a connection with someone, for me anyway, the connection was not weak vulnerability, but like, hey, I want to be the best of what I can do, and so give me your opinion. And probably that was the straw that broke the camel's back for, I fucking love this guy. And pardon my language, but you know, it's because I remember, you know, I've been an entrepreneur now for 24 years. I'm 47 years old. And I mean, I started when I was 16, but really, you know, having a real business. And you have a real business, man. So instead of you pretending or trying, you're doing. And doers have a way of asking a question in a certain way that elicits responses that actually help them move forward. It's not small talk. And I really appreciated that about you. And the fact that we may begin, I remember you called me up one day and told me that. I was like, what? You know, that's kind of neat, man. I really appreciate you having me here, and I'm here to help in any way I can.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. And for everybody that's, you know, just now seeing you for the first time, hearing about you, you want to jump into your story a little bit?
Sure. I'll try to make it as brief as I can. But so I started my first remodeling company in North Carolina. I was working at Radio Shack at the time. I had become a manager. I went to see Brian Tracy on stage, and he said, write down 12 goals.
Going on Facebook, how's everybody doing?
He said, write down 12 goals. And he said, no matter what happens, you will literally accomplish one of those goals in the next month, whether you ever look at that paper again. And one of those goals that I'd written down was to win a golf tournament. And the girl that I was dating at the time worked at a restaurant, and she had a golf tournament through the restaurant, and I won the golf tournament. And something clicked hard in me then. I was young. I was 21 years old. And so I started my first business, and I had no idea what I was, literally no idea what I was doing. I was flipping through the yellow pages back when they had them in the back office of Radio Shack, and I thought we would mow lawns. And a realtor ended up saying, I don't need any lawns mowed, but I do need a countertop put in. And I didn't know how to do it, but I said yes. And I read a book on it at Lowe's on how to glue a countertop down. And the next thing you know, we were doing a roof, and then we were painting an interior. And here we are all these years later. We do additions, kitchens, and bathrooms for people. And that had a big hiccup in 2005. In 2009, I closed the business down. I couldn't sell anything to anybody, and I had no clue what was going on. I was flipping homes on the side, and I had a remodeling company running, and we were going strong for 11 or 12 years. And I said, wow, we finally made it. And 2006 hit and couldn't do anything. So by 2009, I was in debt. I couldn't figure out how to pay another $20,000 or $30,000 a month because I was just writing checks left and right. And it came upon me that I was going to close it down. That was the most painful experience up until that point that I'd ever had.
Mhm.
And I moved from Virginia to New Hampshire and started my life over. And I worked for a company for 3 years selling remodeling. And the owner ended up firing me and saying, you're too much of an entrepreneur, which I think means that you're not willing to do it my way, even though I was his #1 salesman. And in 2015, I started New England Custom Remodeling, and we're a multi-million-dollar company selling remodeling. I'm a coach to high-level executives inside of the Apex program, as well as through Iconic. If anybody can see it, it's right behind me. And I help people with mindset, business practices, and just accomplishing their goals. And all of that came through this exceptionally painful process from 2009 up until really just a couple of years ago. I was forced to learn all the things, not all of them, but a lot of the things that I was able to skate on in business earlier on. The market in New England is a little bit faster paced than Virginia. The competition is a little bit more cunning with marketing and all sorts of things than where I was in Virginia. And I had to decide, do I want to be the shiny object like all of these companies are? And I said, I can't keep up with that because that's why I couldn't do corporate America. So I started leaning on things like integrity and communication and innovation. And that's why we're even on the internet right now, me as a remodeler. And as I did that, what I found was that a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling just like I was. I came up in a time when you could listen to an MP3. That was at the later years, 2003, 2004. Before that, I was going to get books from the library to listen to on tape. I didn't know how to go to seminars, except that one with Brian Tracy through Radio Shack. I thought you had to be in a corporation that big to afford to do things like that. I was pretty ignorant. And then all of a sudden, I'm talking to people online all the time, and I'm realizing a lot of entrepreneurs are getting stuck. And the stuck that they're getting has nothing to do with processes, although that's how everybody comes in. It's like, teach me how to do X, Y, Z. I'll go implement X, Y, Z, and I'll get, Y result. And they implement X, Y, Z, and they get no result, or they get a worse result. And I found that what was really holding all of us back was the predetermined programming that we had accumulated over all these years. And we had to wipe that slate clean. And that's what I've spent the last 15 years of my life doing, hard working at it for the last 7 or 8. And I'm finding that as I put new goals that I actually believe in place, things are getting easier and easier to accomplish. And that's what I'm energized to actually share with people for free, for money, for whatever. I like seeing people win. And I get really heartfelt when people are telling me about their struggle, because I've lived it. I've lived the struggle of going, I literally have done everything that I can think of to do, and this still sucks really bad. And when you start having that one win, you actually don't believe that it's like a consistent thing. You're like, well, that was a fluke. And then a second win comes, and then a third win comes, and yeah, the dips come too, but all of a sudden you start seeing yourself win more. And then all of a sudden you go from a place of desperation and scarcity to a mindset of abundance. And the funny thing that happened to me, and that I see happen to a lot of people, is as you come into abundance, you actually do scarier things. It doesn't ever get easier. You just get a lot better at what you do, and you're willing to trust your gut instincts that this is the right next step for me to take. And they're bigger steps, which have bigger rewards, bigger downfalls too, but you're able to rebound from them and keep going. And if I can encourage people to continue down that path, I believe that we'll make our nation better. I believe that we'll make the world better. And I believe that we end up leaving it for our children in a much better spot than we are right now, for sure.
Yeah, love it. And I think that's the biggest part of it. I like how you said, when the first wins start happening, you think it's a fluke or like something like, is this real? Is this gonna stick? What's going on? And then more and more you kind of gain some of that confidence, you gain some of those skills, and then winning becomes the norm, where you're like, no, there is no losing. That we don't do that here. We might, mess something up every now and then, like you said, the dips, but we know just like the price of Bitcoin over the years, we're going to keep going up no matter what. Could have a setback here and there, but and I think that confidence of knowing that you can figure it all out, and it's you just keep going through it. That's what has really made or break a lot of people in this game. So what do you think it was that kind of helped you make that transition big time from, 2009, everything crashing for you, to, then working with another company and then getting back in the game? How did you kind of catch that stride again and move towards that, like winning is normal?
So, like all of us in the world, the story of Homer, um, writing about Ulysses, all the way through to modern day Rocky Balboa, of it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. Um, Dude, I'm not viable for corporate America anymore. Like I don't have a resume that shows that I have tenure in it. So number one is all I got. So call it burning the ship. That's a motivation in and of itself. I think the bigger transition for me really happened. There's nothing worse than being a leader that is desperate and leaning on other people like a sissy. And for a lot of my business career early on, up until 2009, I would focus on what I wanted to do, and I would cajole others into doing the things that I didn't want to do. And I'm not talking about tasks, I'm talking about a way of living your life. Because quite honestly, I didn't want to stretch me that way. And the problem that it often left is that I wouldn't see the red flags that were coming early enough because I had no experience in that particular mindset.
Mm.
When it comes to financials, just because you hire a CFO doesn't mean that you can let go of your financials, as an example, right? And when I lost everything, and I mean everything, and I moved up to New Hampshire, somewhere I didn't know anybody. I didn't like, I'm this Southern kid coming into, Boston, and, all these people are going 100 miles an hour, and they seem a lot more intelligent than me. And they're certainly more hip on fashion, and I could go on and on and on. Man, I was scared to death. I mean, literally scared to death. And I felt like there's no way I'll ever compete. But then you have this other thing over here where it's like, well, then I have nothing to do. And I'm not personally suited. Like, if you put me in an arena to work at McDonald's, I'll work at McDonald's and become the best McDonald's hamburger flipper in the world. But eventually that's not enough. I want more, and I want more, and I want more. And I want more responsibility. And I just kind of was able to sit down and put all that together and then go, why don't you just lean into what you're most afraid of, dude? And I'm telling you, that's not like a quick fix. it's a whole bunch of soul searching. And my personal experience is, because I called that out, that's what I wanted to do. I call it God. Some people call it the universe. It's whatever it is to you. But I really believe that God said, since this is what you wanted to do, I'm going to sit your ass on a couch with no money, and you're going to be forced to think about this. I'm going to force you to think about what the foundational and fundamental things are that produce success for you, number one.
Mhm.
And then number two, maybe what those foundational things are for other people. And as I started leaning into those, I started to gain real self-confidence for the first time in my life, because I was willing to do things that were hard to me. And there's nothing better for your self-image than for you to know that you're doing something really hard for you. I don't care if Arne knows, or social media knows, or my wife knows, or my friends or my employees know, but I know when I'm doing the real work. And as I did that, I started to learn what my unique selling proposition truly is. And that's not to make money, but how I'm created differently than everybody else. And that gave me the freedom not to compete with you at what you're great with, And it gave me the freedom to also believe that you'll never be able to compete with me about exactly what I'm great with. So let me shine that out there. Let me show people those things and not worry about the money that comes from it, but worry about offering that value. And as I offer that value, and as I shine that light freely upon people, that people will see it, people will understand it, and people will be drawn to it. And my goal personally, I started thinking at a higher level. I was like, well, what if I can turn that light on in somebody else? And then that led to then being able to network with people that think at a much higher level. And my life started really increasing when I started networking with people that had thoughts that I'd never thought of. And that's where the winning comes from, is like, man, I don't have all the answers, but I promise you this, my network does. There isn't one question that I can think of that somebody hasn't had that experience and is willing to share it with me. And that is the key to winning, in my opinion. It's at least in my experience with winning.
Yeah, I really like that. So like the two big things that stood out there, I wrote down one of these quotes. I was willing to do the things that were hard for me. And that statement alone separates 90% of the population, right? There, where if you continuously choose comfort zone, guess what you get? More of the same. Like I had a good chat with one of my team members too, is like we were looking at something going on in the business, and we're saying, okay, we're not happy with how this metric is going. And then when we look back on our activities, we didn't change anything. So why are we surprised? It's like, okay, cool. So if we want to change the results, we got to change how we're doing things. And that's the biggest thing, that experimentation with, hey, this is hard. I might be in over my head a little bit to start, but this is our next evolution. And in pursuing that next evolution, and when you have that network where you can go, hey, how does that work? Hey, I'm stuck over here. And they go, oh yeah, I've been through that. All right, I'll show you how it works real quick. And that is like the catapult, right?
Yeah.
That takes somebody from their current comfort zone, introduce them to something new, and get them into that whole new level of thinking and operating. And that's, one thing I appreciate so much of what you're doing in Apex, is making sure everybody's getting that experience too, with the ability to just continuously keep leveling up.
Well, you and I both have, I've sold millions of dollars online. You've sold a lot online. You've helped a lot of people win. You coach people online. I've coached people online. Until I started helping people online, I have never met more people that are getting ready to get their product launched. They'll pay me $5,000 a month or $5,000 for a whole program or whatever it is, and they will continue to pay me to actually get no result. I don't live in a world where, like in remodeling, you can't pay me $300,000 to build an addition. Give me the 300 grand and I don't build an addition. So that doesn't compute with me. But in the online world, there are a lot of people that are like, man, I just don't have my offer right, or I don't have the funnel right, or I don't have the product right. And they're constantly getting ready to. I started to learn it's okay to fail forward. It's really okay to make mistakes and then with integrity correct them and take care of people through the process. Yes, we're going to market ourselves. Yes, we're going to put our best foot forward. But you know what? I'm going to do that early and often. And then I'm going to take my beta group and I'm going to utilize the information they give me to make the next version better. I'm going to invite them into that as well. And people will come along because they're growing right along with you. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of my clients in the past, they had a really hard time pulling any trigger. And I got really frustrated with that. So that led me to the mindset of, oh, you're a great coach, aren't you? Yes, but I hate selling. Then you're a horrible coach. Because selling is just influence. So why are you? And so it was a mindset piece. Man, it's so easy to offer people to help them. You have this mindset of selling is a bad thing. And that reminded me of the things that I wasn't willing to look at in 2004, 2002, whatever. Let me just go put paint on the wall. Let me get these 12 guys with me and we'll just do the work. The money will come in. I didn't want to pay attention to the mundane parts of running a business. I just wanted to go do the easy stuff. Mm-hmm. And as I started leaning into doing the hard stuff, it gave me the opportunity to see other people that were struggling to lean into hard. And then my conversation with them would change. And I got to the point where I was like, look, either you get this done by XYZ date and you agree to that, right? And they go, yeah, well, that's integrity. And if you don't, then you can't be my client anymore, because we don't have failures. We have people that just haven't figured it out yet. And so you have to do this stuff. And as I became more of that kind of person, I started attracting more of those kinds of people around me that believed just like I did. And then it started to make sense, like, oh, this is how you win. You get people around you that want to produce a result, not people that want to pay money to extract knowledge to do nothing with it. And life's a lot more fun hanging. I mean, dude, it's fun hanging out with you and talking about where you're traveling to and what you're doing with your business and what you're doing with your team. I mean, we were riding in the car together back from a dinner one night, and you're just talking to me about some of the things that you're getting ready to do. This was like 6 months ago or something. And do you know how cool it is to hang out in a car with somebody that's actually going to go do the things that you're talking about doing? And then you talk to them a few months later and they're like, oh yeah, I was doing that. And then we shifted into this, and then it turned into this. And you're just sitting back going, man, I love hanging around with people that are never letting the moss grow on the rock. They're constantly innovating who they are. That's energetic. And so when you can not only find one person like that, but you get into a room where 12, 50, 100 people are like that, there are very few people that have had that experience in life. And we get to have that experience. I just want to share it with other people that want to have that experience, because even when I brought Robin down, my fiance down to Apex, she's not somebody that's like, oh, I trust everything and take my money. She's actually the very opposite of that. After one day inside of that room, we were trying to go to bed that night. And I swear to God, it was like 11:30 at night and she wouldn't be quiet. She was so excited. And I'm like, Robin, we have a whole nother day of this and you got to go to sleep. You got to let me rest. To understand that that energetic thing was going on in that room and affected her at almost a cellular level. How do you lose when you hang around people that are vibrating at a higher level? And that, I know that gets into the woo-woo some, but these are people that have very, very high intentions to produce results. And I want to spend the rest of my life around people like that, because even when things are bad, they're good. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, I'm just writing out that quote. That's a good one. You said, how do you lose when you hang around people with a higher level, right?
Yep.
That's a good one. I'm gonna have to make you another cool little Kris Whitehead quote card for you. But yeah, that's the truth. So I'm curious too, like what do you think is really, when people get stuck in this and they're not in that action mode, you know, we can beat them over the head with the take action stick, but that doesn't help everybody. So how do you really help somebody become more of an action taker if they are stuck on something?
Dude, this is going to sound so crazy. I make them go be by themselves with a pen and a piece of paper. I force them to get still because the truth is inside of them. I don't have your truth. I have steps, I have things you can do, but the problem is you're going so fast with your worry brain that you're clouding everything in front of you. You got to let the mud settle and the water gets crystal clear. And then you can pick your path, the one that you're excited about, the place that you want to go. And then I can be a cheerleader for you. I can be an accountability partner for you. And I can then give you some steps that I know you'll take action on. Until that time comes, you're just leaning on my motivation until we talk again next week. So when people are coming to me and they're all over the place and they're not willing to move forward, I literally go away, spend 20 minutes a day by yourself in the morning, preferably with a pen and a piece of paper, and write out what I want is. And keep writing until you have nothing left to write. And then here's what's really cool about that. You're going to get it all out and you're going to think you're done. That's when it really begins. But when you start writing and the hair stands up on your arms, or you start emoting because you feel what you're writing, you're now in your purpose. And I promise you this, once you find your purpose, no human alive can steal it from you. And you will do whatever it takes to stay in that place once you discover it. And that's what
I love that.
That's what I like helping people do that are stuck.
Yeah, and that's I think that's probably the best example of coaching versus consulting, where consulting is like, hey, I want to launch a book. You're like, cool, I'm gonna show you how to launch a book. Somebody's like, I don't know what to do, if I should write a book, blah, blah, blah. You're like, pull out your journal. you already have your answers. I can't tell you. That's cool for sure. So like, what's your next evolution? Where are you going from here?
So we're, you and I were just talking before this, we're into investing now. Our kids are, we got one that's still in high school. We got two that are in college. We just bought a badass house. And there's another thing, right? So we just bought a house that is twice what I thought I could ever live in.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that was a gut check of signing my name on the document that I'm going to be, in debt for that kind of money. And I looked at Robin and I just told myself, and I told her, I'm telling myself that I get to do this now.
Mm-hmm.
So my next evolution, we're investing, we're moving into a new home. It's a dream home for sure. It's an estate. Also, I coach some of the most badass people on earth. I've got people that are 27 years old with 150 employees making 9 figures a year. I've got coaches. I've got a 60-some-year-old gentleman that owns a large portion of let's say a large portion of a real estate company that everybody knows about. I get to hang out with people to learn things because I feel like I'm a mirror. Not only am I absorbing what they're telling me, but I'm reflecting back to them the image of what they're doing. And as I do that, it's like I just keep my mirror as clean as possible so that I ask really good questions.
Mm-hmm.
My next evolution is, I'm already the director of executive coaches for Apex. I have full intention, as long as Ryan and Thomas and the crew want to keep me on their team. My intention is to make it the #1 personal and professional development business in the world. And
Love it.
that's going to come from working in the trenches with a lot of people. And I've never been more excited in my life.
Cool, man. It's happening, especially the last year with the crazy amount of growth.
Yeah.
That I think that would be a good one to poke you on too, that the audience would like. So if you guys aren't familiar with Ryan Stewman Apex programs, they've been around for a few years, but literally in the last year, you guys more than tripled your business?
More than quadrupled the business. Yeah.
More than quadrupled, and they're hitting new records every single month this year. Insane. It's been so cool to see that from the inside. Like when I first joined executives, it was like, me, you, and a dozen other people hanging out at the events. And now we've had to change where it's at to be able to fit 100 people for those meetups.
Yep.
And those are all people paying a pretty penny to be there. So you guys can do the math on that. But it's been really, really cool to see that and see how that growth happened and how they also started incorporating people like you to be able to lead some of these different sections. So what are some of the things you've seen take this business from, still a multi-million-dollar business to you guys are on track for 8 figures? Like what's that been like?
So what I have never experienced in my life until I met Ryan, I've heard people talk about it, but I've never experienced it. Ryan has a very abundant mindset. And so he's not challenged by somebody with my personality coming into his business. He's not afraid about losing business and losing money and me being a coach and me having coaching clients on the side. He's looking to put the very best people that he can in the positions of authority and leadership. And he also allows all of us in the network that are networking to do our deals together that don't include him, that maybe do include him. I've never been in a place with somebody that has so much abundance of mindset that they're like, I'm not going to control that. I promise you, this is what I will control. If you're out of integrity, you're out of the group. Mm-hmm. And he defines what that looks like. But otherwise, I've created a place for everyone to get together and grow. And I think because there's so much it's held so loosely, we entrepreneurs don't like being caged. But what often happens in all of these kinds of groups is, well, you got to follow these rules and you got to do this and you can't do this and you can't. And there's none of that. There is, I understand I'm an entrepreneur. I understand you're an entrepreneur. And I just want you to be the most elite version of who you are. Mm-hmm. Dude, that's easy to say. It's very hard to follow it unless you're 100% in integrity. And everything that I've ever done, I came in with a little bit of scarcity mindset going, yeah, bait and switch, probably, yeah. Nah, dude, every step along the way, even in private conversations with him, I'll suggest this, he comes back with this, and it kind of just blows my mind. Like, man, this guy's thinking of legacy building. He's not thinking about short-term money. He's thinking about blessing people and giving value to people on a level that they've never experienced it. And I think that's what's catching on, is that he's giving that value and allowing us to give that value too. And if it's a good idea, go implement it. Just don't screw anybody over while you're doing it. And that's what we're all doing together. And it's growing like crazy because of it.
Yeah. And I think, like, at the end of the day, so much of that comes down to the culture of the group that, you know, you, I, and so many other people are able to be spokespeople for. Is like, hey, this is a cool culture. You know, you fit in or you don't, you vibe with it or you don't, but there's some cool stuff on the other side here. So I think you've done a really good job of, like, you know, as head coach, being able to really be the voice for those values and that culture too, from you to the coaches to the rest of the client. And that's really helped shape a lot of the group. So I think, you know, everybody else out there listening, that's something to really take note on, is what is that kind of culture that you want to trickle down from you to your team, to your management team, to your clients? How do they represent for you? And when you can have that a lot more dialed in, that's what creates those like really hardcore followings that are just happy to be there and work with you and want to stick around. That's been cool to see, for sure.
Yeah, you know, because I've been in business so long, the value of a client, which I am, you are, for me to not invest my time, I'm not promoting this. I'm not saying buy my stuff. I'm talking about somebody that I respect. How cool is it to create clients that respect what you're doing so much that they want to share it out with other people? There is a formula for that. And a lot of it has to do with those core values. And I think a lot of people, they skim over that part because they think it's boring. Arne, I'm going to tell you, dude, I created my core values, and now I'm learning the genius behind the genius of me creating them and what they really mean and what that means for who I want to hang out with, not just in business, but in life. When you start putting more and more people around you that have the similar values, that's how you win.
Yep.
In this world today, because we're all doing commodity-based stuff. You win because other people are willing to buy it. And then if those people are willing to not only buy it, but have an experience that they're willing to share it with other people, that's the best marketing on earth.
Yep.
So and that's what's happening in this group. And I'm grateful for it, because some of my friends, we just had that MDM event, and some of my really good friends down in Dallas who were not part of Apex are now part of Apex. I didn't make any money on that, but I can't tell you how overjoyed I am that they're a part of our group because of their values. And I'm like, I love the fact that I can bring my children here one day, and they're going to understand that this is way more than just business. These are people that I enjoy being around. You are one of them, you know what I mean? So I don't know where it's been. And I wish I was your age, but I'm here now, so I'll keep it.
Exactly. You know, we're right where we need to be, and it's all happening at the right time. So I'm just definitely pumped for the opportunity, for getting to chat with you and get more of your story, and you know, help people become more unstoppable. So as we get towards wrapping up here, like, if you had to, you know, put the gravestone advice of what you want to leave that message out for people, what would it be?
Okay, so it's real simple, and it's part of, you know, your title that you typed here. Number one, figure out what the hell you want to do. Like, literally figure it out. Quit being so wishy-washy about it. Once you figure out exactly what it is you want, be bold in it and do the work. The how-to, there are millions of people out here that can do how-tos. You are an exemplary person, business entity that will show people how to grow their Facebook group, how to grow any social media group, and then how to monetize that group. And then here's the last part: whatever you do, do not quit. If you choose not to quit and you're willing to do the work and you have a very, very clear goal, you will attain that goal. And that's been my experience, and that's my best advice for anyone that truly wants to do something in life.
Yep. Love it. It's simple and it works. Don't quit.
Don't quit.
What do you know? Cool, man. Love it. Well, appreciate the chat with you so far today. I'll see you in a couple weeks. And for anybody who wants to connect with you further, where should we send them off to?
Dude, find me on Facebook. I'm Kris Whitehead. I think it's the Kris Whitehead. You can find me at iconicalliance.com. And you can also, if you're in New England and you need a remodeling job, you can find me at newenglandcustomremodeling.com.
Cool. Yeah, I'll drop those in the chat below there. And everybody, make sure you guys say thanks to Kris. He could be anywhere in the world right now, and he's hanging here, spending some time with us. So much appreciated, man. And I will catch you guys next week for another episode. And Kris, I'll see you soon.
Appreciate you, brother.